Is it safe to use sunscreen on your baby? So the answer to this question kind of falls into two areas, really. So under the age of 6 months, we would normally recommend that you avoid taking your baby into direct sunlight and rather keep them in a shaded area if you possibly can. Now, we know that that's not always possible. So if you do have to use a small amount of sunscreen on your baby under the age of 6 months, we would definitely recommend that you would use a product that is developed specifically for babies, something that is zinc oxide based and hypoallergenic, that provides UVA and UVB protection. And you would only be using that very, very sparingly on the areas that are potentially going to be exposed. But as I say, under the age of 6 months, you should be avoiding direct sunlight with your baby, particularly between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if they are out, it's better that you actually use protective clothing. So instead of using a sunscreen on exposed arms, don't expose their arms. So you can use like a long sleeved outfit, a wide brim hat, sunglasses, which I've talked about in another short if your baby is going to be out in direct sunlight. Now, once they're over the age of 6 months, again, we would still say to avoid that peak time between 10 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon for direct sunlight, particularly in the Brisbane and Australian summer, where it is extremely hot. So if you're going to the beaches and things like that, pop up your gazebos, keep your babies in the shade. If they're sleeping in a stroller, make sure it has a canopy over the top to provide some shade from the intense sun. But once they are over the age of 6 months, it is fine to use a baby-friendly, like I say, zinc oxide mineral-based sunscreen, and use it sparingly on the areas obviously that are exposed to the sun. Paying particular attention to their face, the back of their neck. Definitely use your wide brim hat, but you know there is going to be times where they're running around and the sun is still exposed to their skin. So making sure that all of those areas are covered with that sunscreen. So yes, I hope that answers your question. Try and avoid under the age of 6 months, but if you do have to use it very sparingly and only in the areas that need it, and keep your baby in the shade. Over 6 months, make sure that they are covered any area that is exposed to the skin. Keep them in their wide brim hat and the typical Australian slip, slap, slop.